Dear learners, welcome to today's lecture on the concept of moral development. This lecture addresses one of the most fundamental questions in psychology, education and philosophy: how do human beings learn what is right and what is wrong? Moral development is not merely about obeying rules or avoiding punishment. It's about the gradual formation of conscience, ethical reasoning, emotional sensitivity, and responsible action. As future teachers, researchers, or reflective citizens, understanding moral development equips us to nurture ethical thinking and humane behavior in ourselves and others. Dear learners, the objectives for today's session are to understand the meaning and nature of moral development, the concept of moral dilemmas, key features and influencing factors, major theories proposed by Piaget, Kohlberg and Gilligan, and the role of family, school and society in promoting moral growth. Let us first of all discuss the concept of moral development. Dear learners, moral development refers to the gradual, systematic and continuous change in an individual's understanding of right and wrong, their emotional responses to moral situations and their actual moral behavior. The term development is crucial. It implies growth, progression and transformation over time. Moral understanding is not inborn in a complete form, nor does it emerge suddenly. Instead, it evolves through interaction with parents, peers, teachers, institutions and culture, alongside cognitive and emotional maturation. For example, a young child may believe that lying is wrong only because it leads to punishment. An adolescent may view lying as wrong because it breaks trust. An adult, however, may evaluate lying based on broader ethical principles such as harm reduction or justice. This shift reflects moral development. Moral development consists of three interrelated domains. The first is moral cognition, which refers to how individuals think about moral issues. It includes reasoning, judgment, and decision making. When a person asks, "What should I do in this situation?" they are engaging in moral cognition. The second domain is moral affect, which involves emotions related to morality such as guilt, shame, empathy, compassion, pride, and moral anger. These emotions act as internal regulators. For instance, empathy enables us to feel the pain of others, while guilt discourages harmful behavior even when no one is watching. The third domain is moral behavior, which refers to actual conduct, what a person does in real life situations. Moral behavior is the outward expression of moral thinking and feeling. For example, choosing not to cheat in an examination despite the opportunity reflects moral behavior. These three domains are deeply interconnected. Moral reasoning provides direction, moral emotions provide motivation, and moral behavior provides expression. A person may know what is right but fail to act on it due to weak emotional commitment. Conversely, strong empathy without reasoning may lead to impulsive actions. Mature morality integrates all three. Coming to second objective of today's session, the concept of moral dilemma. Dear students, a central concept in moral development is the moral dilemma. A moral dilemma arises when a person faces a choice between two or more conflicting moral values, where fulfilling one value necessarily violates another. In such situations, no option is morally perfect. For example, imagine a student who witnesses a close friend cheating in an examination. Reporting the friend upholds honesty and fairness, but violates loyalty and friendship. Remaining silent preserves loyalty, but compromises integrity. This conflict creates a moral dilemma. Moral dilemmas are important because they force individuals to prioritize values. They reveal what a person considers more important: honesty or loyalty, justice or compassion, law or conscience. In moral psychology, dilemmas are used to study how people reason, how emotions influence judgment, and how social context shapes decisions. Kohlberg famously used dilemmas such as the Heinz dilemma to assess moral reasoning. Analyzing a moral dilemma involves several steps. First, identifying the conflicting values. Second, recognizing the stakeholders involved. Third, considering alternative courses of action. Fourth, evaluating the possible consequences of each choice. Finally, reflecting on one's own motives and biases. In the Indian context, moral dilemmas often emerge from tensions between tradition and modernity. For example, a woman choosing between an arranged marriage expected by family and personal autonomy represents a moral conflict between familial duty and individual rights. Similarly, whistleblowing in public institutions may conflict with loyalty to colleagues and commitment to social justice. Educators play a critical role in using moral dilemmas pedagogically. Through debates, role play, group discussions, and reflective writing, students learn to articulate reasons, listen to opposing viewpoints, and justify moral positions. The goal is not to impose answers, but to develop moral reasoning capacity. Let us now try to understand the key features of moral development. Dear students, moral development has several defining features. First, it is sequential and invariant. Research suggests that moral reasoning develops in a fixed order of stages. Individuals must master the logic of one stage before progressing to the next. Although the pace of development may vary, the sequence remains consistent. Second, moral development has a cognitive foundation. As children's thinking abilities grow from concrete to abstract, they become capable of understanding intentions, rights, social contracts, and universal principles. Moral reasoning becomes more complex as perspective taking improves. Third, moral development involves hierarchical integration. Higher stages do not discard earlier reasoning, but incorporate and transcend them. An adult still understands the importance of rules and consequences, but evaluates them through broader ethical frameworks. Fourth, moral development reflects a shift from self-centeredness to concern for others. Early morality is often egocentric, focused on personal gain or punishment avoidance. Gradually, concern expands to include peers, society, and eventually humanity as a whole. Finally, moral development is contextual and interactive. It's shaped by social interactions, cultural norms, institutional practices, and historical conditions. Moral growth does not occur in isolation. Coming to the factors influencing moral development. Dear students, several interrelated factors influence moral development. The family is the primary agent of moral socialization. Warm, responsive parenting combined with reasoning-based discipline promotes internal moral understanding. For instance, explaining why a behavior is wrong helps children internalize values. In contrast, harsh punishment encourages fear-based compliance rather than moral insight. Peer interaction plays a significant role, especially during middle childhood and adolescence. Through peer relationships, children learn fairness, reciprocity, negotiation, and conflict resolution. Disagreements among equals stimulate moral reasoning more effectively than adult-imposed rules. Cognitive development enables moral growth. Higher intelligence and abstract thinking allow individuals to understand concepts like justice, equality, and human rights. Moral reasoning improves as language, memory, and perspective-taking abilities mature. School and education influence moral development through both formal instruction and the hidden curriculum. Classroom rules, teacher behavior, evaluation practices, and peer culture convey powerful moral messages. A democratic classroom fosters respect and responsibility, while authoritarian environments may promote conformity. Culture and society define moral norms and values. Collectivist cultures emphasize social harmony and duty, while individualist cultures stress autonomy and rights. Neither is morally superior. Both shape moral priorities differently. Mass media also affects moral development. Children observe models of behavior in television, films, and social media. According to social learning theory, repeated exposure to pro-social or anti-social behavior influences moral attitudes and actions. Dear students, let us now discuss major theories of moral development. Scholars have proposed several theories to explain how moral development occurs. Among these, the theories of Jean Piaget, Lawrence Kohlberg, and Carol Gilligan are particularly influential. Jean Piaget viewed moral development as closely connected to cognitive development and believed that children's moral understanding evolves as their thinking becomes more logical and flexible. Through careful observation of children's games, especially how they follow and interpret rules, Piaget explained how moral reasoning changes with age and social experience. He proposed two major stages of moral development, each reflecting a distinct way of understanding rules and justice. The first stage is heteronomous morality. Usually observed between the ages of 5 and 9 years. During this stage, children perceive rules as fixed, absolute, and handed down by authority figures such as parents, teachers, or elders. Moral judgment is based mainly on obedience and the consequences of actions. Children believe in immanent justice, assuming that punishment automatically follows wrongdoing. For instance, a child may think that getting hurt while playing is a direct punishment for disobeying a rule. At this stage, intentions are largely ignored, and moral evaluation depends on the amount of damage caused. The second stage is autonomous morality, which emerges around the age of 10. Children now realize that rules are created by people to promote fairness and cooperation and can be modified through mutual agreement. Moral judgment shifts from consequences to intentions, and values such as cooperation, reciprocity, and mutual respect become central to moral reasoning. Coming to Lawrence Kohlberg's theory of moral development. At the pre-conventional level, morality is externally controlled and based on personal consequences. In stage 1, behavior is guided by obedience and avoidance of punishment. A child, for example, may not steal simply because they fear being punished. In stage 2, moral reasoning is driven by self-interest and reciprocal benefit, where actions are taken with the expectation of reward, such as helping a friend only to receive help in return. The conventional level reflects socially oriented morality. In stage 3, individuals seek social approval and try to be seen as good by family, teachers, or peers. In stage 4, moral reasoning is centered on maintaining law, order, and authority, as individuals believe that rules must be followed to ensure social stability. At the post-conventional level, morality is guided by abstract principles. Stage 5 views laws as social contracts designed for the common good, while stage 6 is based on universal ethical principles like justice, equality, and human dignity, even when these principles conflict with unjust laws. Research indicates that not all individuals reach this level, emphasizing the crucial role of education, dialogue, and moral reflection in advancing moral reasoning. Another significant theory of moral development is Carol Gilligan's ethics of care. Carol Gilligan critiqued Lawrence Kohlberg's theory of moral development on the grounds that it placed excessive emphasis on justice, rules, and rights, while largely ignoring care-based and relationship-oriented moral reasoning. She argued that Kohlberg's framework reflected a predominantly male perspective of morality and failed to adequately represent how many individuals, particularly women, experience and express moral concerns. According to Gilligan, moral reasoning often develops within the context of relationships, responsibilities, and interconnectedness rather than through abstract principles alone. Gilligan proposed 3 levels of moral development. At the first level, morality is centered on self-interest and survival, where individuals focus primarily on their own needs. The second level emphasizes self-sacrifice, in which caring for others is seen as morally good, often at the expense of one's own well-being. At the third and most mature level, individuals achieve balanced care, recognizing the importance of caring for both oneself and others. Moral decisions at this stage are guided by empathy, mutual respect, and the principle of non-violence. Gilligan's theory does not reject justice-based reasoning, but complements it by highlighting the moral significance of care, compassion, and responsibility. Her work expanded moral psychology by acknowledging that moral development can follow multiple pathways and that ethical understanding is shaped by social relationships, lived experiences, and cultural contexts. This perspective has had a lasting influence on education, ethics, and gender-sensitive approach to moral development. Role of family, school, and society. The family lays the foundation of moral growth by modeling values such as honesty, empathy, respect, and responsibility in everyday life. Through parental guidance, discipline, storytelling, and emotional support, children learn to distinguish right from wrong and develop a conscience. For example, parents who resolve conflicts calmly teach tolerance and fairness. The school strengthens moral learning through value-based curriculum, teacher behavior, and democratic classroom practices. Activities like group work, debates, and community service foster cooperation and respect. Society further shapes morality through cultural norms, laws, institutions, and media, encouraging civic responsibility, justice, tolerance, and ethical citizenship. In conclusion, moral development is a lifelong and dynamic process influenced by cognitive growth, emotional experiences, and continuous interaction with family, school, peers, and society. It evolves gradually as individuals learn to reason ethically, regulate moral emotions, and translate values into responsible behavior. Understanding the nature of moral development helps educators recognize that moral learning cannot be imposed but must be nurtured through dialogue, example, and meaningful experiences. When teachers create supportive, inclusive, and value-oriented learning environments, they promote ethical reasoning, empathy, respect for others, and sense of social responsibility. Such education is essential for developing morally conscious individuals capable of contributing positively to a just and harmonious society. Thank you for your attention and active engagement. I hope this session has helped you gain a clear understanding of moral development and its significance in education and everyday life.